Hi everyone, I'm Harsh and I'm pursuing my Masters in Political Science with specialization in International Relations from JNU. Lately I've been getting a lot of queries regarding how to approach CUET PG, the books I referred to, a comprehensive strategy to ace its exam, etc. etc. Therefore I decided to make this video. Now I've divided this video in two parts. Part 1 deals with the book list you can refer to, whereas Part 2 covers strategy and approach, starting right away with Part 1 dealing with book list. So for Western political thought and Indian political thought, I referred to my Shubhra Ranjan PSIR notes. Now for those of you who haven't taken her coaching, but if you're someone who's based in Delhi, you can get her notes from ORN. Alternatively, there are a lot of Telegram and Drive links that provide her notes for free. So you can search and access them from there. Now, if you're a textbook person, you can refer to Play to 2 Marks by Subrata Mukherjee or Western Political Thought and Indian Political Thought by OP Gauba. While I personally did not use these textbooks, I know a lot of friends who studied from these books since it was a part of their UG curriculum. So you can either refer to notes or one of the books. Just remember that don't run behind too many sources and instead stick with one source and focus more on revision and retention. Now for IR section, my primary source again was Shubhra Ranjan notes. I supplemented them with Globalization of World Politics by Baylis and Smith, but I used this book very selectively. I focused only on chapters dealing with realism, idealism, and Cold War. For the part dealing with international organization and foreign policy, I also made use of UPSC-based websites like Drishti IAS, Byju's, etc. to cover a few topics. For political theory, I relied extensively on OP Gauba. For Indian government and politics, I referred to Laxmikanth. For comparative government and public policy, I used IGNU notes and watched a few YouTube videos by Etu Sarthi and Paul Science Help. And for general issues, there's no one source, right? But I think reading newspapers comes very, very handy, not only for this part, but for the entire paper at large. With booklist being covered, I'd like to make a mention of one special source that was the backbone of my CUET PG prep, that is CUET PG Guide by Paul Science Help. You can get access to this book by getting a Kindle subscription. The reason why I recommend this guidebook is because of its structure. Now, if you look at this guidebook, it has fact sheets on every theme, followed by PYQs, and then a few sample papers. So here is how you should utilize this book ideally. So for instance, if you're covering Western political thought, read about Plato from the standard primary source that you have chosen. Then look at the PYQs that have been asked on Plato, and the PYQ section is there in the guide, right? At this point, you know the type of questions that have been asked on Plato. Now make notes from your primary source, keeping in mind the nature of questions asked. That is, you're making your notes in your second reading after you have already looked at the PYQs that have been asked on Plato. Once you are done with this, open the fact sheet section in your CUET guide and cross-check it with the notes you have already made. Add relevant material from these fact sheets. Now, if you can replicate this for all the sections, it's very, very likely that you'll get a decent score in CUET PG. After doing this exercise, what you'll notice is that there's a pattern of questions that have been asked, right? So for example, in Western political thought and Indian political thought, the books of thinkers becomes very, very important. In Indian government and politics, certain articles dealing with president, governor, judiciary, etc. have been repeatedly asked. Try figuring out this pattern and focus more on these areas accordingly. Once you're done with making of your notes, you should now focus on solving PYQs. So before CUET, each university used to have its own examination, which means you have a repository of hundreds of question papers of institutions like BHU, Hyderabad University, JNU, TU, etc. This, along with UGC net question papers, is an excellent source for practice and testing yourself and basically understanding the mindset of the examiner. The idea is that you need to turn on your MCQ solving more so that you know how to approach the paper. Now maintain a separate diary for mistakes you make and make sure, you revise them. I'll attach a drive link that has all the PYQs, or rather most of the PYQs. Now this belongs to Mr. Dharmendra Jangir, a second year JNU student who's basically my senior. Also, please take whatever I've suggested with a pinch of salt. While solving these question papers, you'll come across outdated or irrelevant questions. Feel free to ignore them. With that being said, I'll take the last minute to talk about academic FOMO. That is, given there are so many sources, what if a question comes from the book that I didn't read? However, what you need to understand is that given the paucity of time, you cannot cover all the sources. So be reasonable and don't be too harsh on yourself. Another trick to deal with this FOMO is to prepare with your friends so that you can share with each other your notes, and in this way you can cover more sources. So me and my friend Harshit prepared for this examination together. We shared our notes with each other, and when we used to meet at Sudama for a chai break, we used to test each other by asking questions. So it was Harshit's company that made this journey more enjoyable. And while he rarely picks up my call or agrees for a meetup, I think he's the best friend that you can ask for. This is the photograph we clicked just one night before CUET on 7th June 2023. The room was a mess, but as they say, difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. Harshit got into North Campus and I got into JNU. If we can do it, so can you. रुक जाना नहीं तू कहीं हार के कांटों पे चल के मिलेंगे साए बहार